What's a small act of kindness you were once shown that you'll never forget? Neighbors asked to borrow my truck. Told them I could not trust my truck because the tires were bad. Next day Mr. Neighbor called and said he was getting new tires for his Suburban and I could have his old ones. Told me to just show up at this certain tire shop and they would put them on. Get to tire shop and they put on brand new Goodyear tires. I asked what happened to the old tires I was supposed to receive. Shop owner said the old tires was just a story to get me in the shop. Mr. Neighbor bought me a full set of new tires instead of the old tires he said I could have. I guess they can borrow the truck anytime after that. Riding my bike on a long trip through Canada. With about 50 miles to go, I had a major mechanical failure. Stuck on the side of the road in a foreign country, within 5 minutes at least 10 cars had stopped to check on me. One guy loaded my bike in the back of his truck and drove me 30 miles to the border where I could catch a ferry back to the US. Amazing kindness and generosity toward a stranger. He just asked that I pay it forward, and to date I've helped 5 cyclists who were broken down in honor of that promised thumbs up. Canadians are so nice, they don't want anything in return, just it forward. I was 9 years old, waiting for the school bus in Wisconsin winter. I had a thin coat, no hat or gloves. A woman driving past saw me and stopped, giving me a blanket from the back of her car. It was a long skinny one, so she wrapped it around my head and shoulders like a big scarf. I remember thanking her, but being confused. I told her I didn't know how I would give it back when I was done borrowing it. She hugged me and said not to worry. I still have that blanket. I love that you still have the blanket. Alternator died while I was driving home from university. Engine died as I exited the freeway in the middle of the night in a not-so-pleasant part of town in the days before cell phones. As I'm pushing my car out of the intersection, a guy in a truck comes up and offers to push my car to my neighborhood a good 3 miles away. He does so, and I'm pulling into my neighborhood. He simply gives a wave and drives off into the night. I never even had a chance to thank him. Ones like this always get me a little more. Where the person is very obviously just doing it to be a good person, so much so they don't even let you say thanks. When I was young, 19, I lost my wallet and someone used my license to rack up tickets. It was pretty obvious once courts looked at the location of the tickets and what vehicle was used, the signature, that it wasn't me. I had to go to around 3 courts clearing it up. The third judge was the only one with a problem. He said I had failures to appear since the tickets were ignored. I explained what was happening and how I'd been dealing with this, and I came in as soon as I was made aware of the issue. He wanted to put me in jail because he didn't trust I'd be back. He wouldn't look at my paperwork because it was an arraignment. He would only look at it during the trial date. I didn't know what to do, but I had the name of the public defender memorized. I asked if I could talk with her first. He called her in and said, "This young man seems to know you." I quickly explained what was happening and showed her my evidence. She told the judge that if he didn't release me to come back, she'd pay my bail out of her own pocket. He scorned me but released me. I just had to return the next month during the trial date. I was 19 then, 39 now. Let there blossom on planet Earth 1,000 public defenders with hearts of gold like this one. Great story. Thanks for sharing. Damn, and you know that woman was a good person, because public defenders don't make a lot of money, lol. And she was probably pissed at the judge for making her need to do that. I took my sister who's in a wheelchair to the cinema for the first time on my own. At the end, I realized I couldn't undo the brakes and was blocking everyone. I felt like crying because I thought everyone was pissed at me, but some nice lady helped me, then took me and my sister out. She said she once had a son who needed a wheelchair. This was long ago, but I'll never forget. Once had a son, ouch. Yeah, I caught that too. Now he has bionic legs and takes his mod to the mountains for tea and cookies with great powerful leaps every Saturday. I was out of a job at a time that I had to support my mother. Finally landed one, but I had to walk back and forth and I didn't have any shoes that would hold up on the walk or the work. Went to FB and mom asked around for some hand-me-downs we could buy from someone. A day later a very kind man showed up with a brand new pair of really nice shoes he had just gone out and bought for me. He left before I could even get any money for him. I cried. Sometimes the hero is the one who asks. A friend of mine has a son who was dating a girl with a really bad home life. She broke down at their house once because she's started her period and couldn't afford tampons that month. My friend found out she only had one pair of shoes that were falling apart, one pair of jeans she wore every day, and a few hoodies. The girl was my size, so I passed down a few pairs of Nike shoes I'd never worn, a couple of Lush bath bombs and gift cards to Belk and JCPenney. My friend took her to the mall, said she only bought underwear and bras since she barely had any that fit. It meant nothing to me since it was all stuff I had around my house, but everything to that girl. There were about 6 of us that dropped off stuff for the girl, who said it was more than she'd ever owned in her life. When I pick up my students, I try to get them to walk fast so we don't waste time. It's elementary school, so usually the students are more than willing to power walk/run in the hallway to my classroom. One day I picked up this student who had just moved to the city. Asked her typical questions. She didn't want to go to PE. Kind of weird, but not uncommon. A couple of the other students I had started running to the room and I start to keep up, just to power walk for my adult legs. The new student is falling behind, so I pause and wait. I ask why she doesn't want to run with us and she says her feet hurt. I ask her why and she says her shoes are too small, but her mom can't afford new ones. I think it took everything in me to not lose it immediately. We finish our group and before she leaves I ask her what size she wears and if it would be okay if I could find her some shoes that fit better. Without hesitation she says, that'd be great. She left and I completely broke down. I was biting my lip so I wouldn't sob and I wrote down on a notepad what happened. I gave it to a coworker who comforted me, then ran home and brought back a bag full of shoes that should fit. The student had her pick of several pair. Needless to say, she did like PE after all.